Hey, what's going on? It is the voice of the Nets. I'm Chris Carrino. Great to have you with us. Thank you for subscribing. Give us a good rating to the Voice of the Nets podcast. We are going through a number of players that we thought could be impactful to the Nets this year, have been with the team in the past, and we wanted to have kind of a conversation about these guys. The great Lucas Kaplan of NetsDaily has done some film breakdown on these players. Available on all the social media and digital platforms of the Nets. Great to have Lucas be a part of the family. And Tim Capstraw, my longtime radio partner, joining us in his perspective as well. I don't know if there was a more intriguing young player last year that we saw put on a Net uniform than the guy we're going to talk about right now. And that's Noah Clowney. The youngest player that the Nets ever drafted until Dariq Whitehead came around the next pick. I had that order correct, right? It was Noah, then Dariq.
Yes.
He had broken the record of Derek Favors and had become the youngest player ever drafted by the Nets. And then it lasted a couple of minutes, and then he was the second youngest because Dariq Whitehead came after him. But really, these guys they were drafted and they're not even 20 years old. You talk about upside, you talk about excitement, you talk about what can these guys become. And Noah Clowney was kind of billed as, hey, it's Nick Claxton with a jump shot. And I don't know if that was fair to him. I don't know if that's fair to Nick Claxton. But you get kind of where they were going, right? We get center, long arms, skinny, can guard multiple positions, a guy that could switch every position. And was adept at shooting the three. At Alabama, shot the three well with the exception of one little spurt in the middle of the season, which really dragged down his shooting percentage. When you got a closer look at him, though, you saw, wow, God, he's so young. He's not as tall as Nick Claxton. He doesn't look like a jump shooter. So maybe you were a little tentative and going, I don't know, really, that's a high bar, Nick Claxton with a jump shot. Then he goes to Long Island, and he's electrifying, right? He's doing all the things you hoped he can do and more. And then I think we don't expect it, right? We thought he's going to be a G League star. He's going to be a Long Island Net all year. We didn't expect to see him wearing a Brooklyn uniform. And then not only does he wear a Brooklyn uniform, he is excelling. And then last year, the season doesn't really go the way they want, so he's getting a lot of chances to play. And man, he's got us jumping out of our seats, literally. Capper's dropping his pen, his glasses. He's jumping up and down out of his seats at some of the things that Noah Clowney is doing late in the year. Capper, why were you jumping out of your seat? What were you seeing in Noah Clowney that had you leading the cheers at Barclays Center?
An awful lot. Things that surprise. Well, I knew he had you see him shoot around. He's got a very good looking shot. He's going to shoot the ball well in the league, right? Then you watched him at times handle the basketball, handle it, definitely able to handle it. And saying, well, boy, he's got a lot going on there. And then you start envisioning, he could play some 5 for you, but he certainly could be a 4. He could play some 4 for you. He could play alongside guys. And I just liked his overall everything about him. Chris, I loved it. I was taken back. I don't think I ever misjudged anyone so significant from the first time I saw them as a Net to at the end of last year or even into the summer when I was blown away again. When I see him diving on the floor, draws charges. You know what he does well? This is an interesting thing because this bugs me in the NBA. The missed block shot really drives me nuts. He doesn't go for block shots that he can't get. He's a great verticality guy. He'll go straight up on his help defense. He knows how to play. He shoots it well. He can play more than one position. Man, they stole a good player there, and I did not see. Usually, you can see it pretty quick. You can say to yourself, "I see the future in this guy." I didn't see it right away, but man, I saw it as the season went on, and I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, the Claxton comparison makes sense as sort of an elevator pitch. Like, this guy moves differently. That's the thing that gets your attention. He's 6'9", 6'10", with longer arms than that, plus 7-foot wingspan, and just the way he moves is uncommon. And there's not a better way to say it, at least for me. And all of the things that Capper said, the verticality at the rim made him such a fierce rim protector right away. And he was disciplined. Like, he's going straight up. He's vertical. And then at the same time, he has this uncommon hand-eye coordination for a guy that lanky and athletic. You normally expect those guys to look a little awkward, to maybe not have great hands. But when he goes vertical and then he makes a swipe at the ball, he's so accurate with it. The block rate of 2.5%, for any stat nerds out there, is elite. He's getting his hands all over the place, and then that bodes really well for the 3-point shooting. So overall, you just have this unique prospect that has already shown that he can contribute on an NBA court. I know it was a sample, a small sample at the end of the regular season, but at least with Clowney, yeah, he has this high potential. There's so much there to work with. That's all true. But also, we just watched him be a good NBA player for days, games, a couple weeks at a time. No matter what part of the season it comes in, it's not all the time you see a teenager do that.
Yeah, against good teams who needed to win these games late in the season. And right. I think you talk about his defensive prowess, and you point out the numbers, Lucas. His ability to block with either hand too, right? Like, he could. Some guys are just right hand, like shooters, right-handed shot blockers, left-handed shot. He can mirror your shot. It impressed me when he'd block shots in transition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right, chasing down guys. The thing is about Noah Clowney is he's not 6'11". Yeah, he's long. He's 6'9". And if you're going to play him at center, you are kind of, and he's going to, listen, he's going to have to work with the net staff and get stronger and bigger. He knows that. You're kind of playing small ball center if he's your center. Mm-hmm. Because the bigger guys are going to be able to dominate him physically. So if he's going to play center, if he's going to play another position, if he's the 4, or you're playing a long lineup and you got him another position, he's going to have to also shoot the ball really well. Does he have that potential, to shoot the ball well enough to not be just a good shooter for a center, but now when you play the 3 or the 4, you've got to be a good shooter? Does he have that potential?
I think he does. I think he really does. I think that the ball out of his hands looks good to me. Maybe certainly as a 4. You know what I mean?
Can he be a stretch 4?
I think I think he can play alongside guys. I think you're going to be great length on the interior. The way as an extra shot, you don't see that many teams that have 2, or could have 2 guys that could really be interior shot blockers on the floor at the same time. I think he's got all the ingredients. Seems to have the attitude, the approach, his skill level, and again, he can handle the ball. Lucas, that was perfectly said. The way he moves differently than 6'9" guys do. And you're right, he's not that big, but he's going to have positional versatility, and he's going to keep getting better. Yeah. That's such a great get.
Yeah, we saw him, slide on the perimeter on defense with guys, yes. And in the film breakdown I did of him, especially in Long Island, he has these plays where he attacks a closeout and slithers along the baseline. We saw it in Brooklyn a couple times too. He'll do a spin move and all of a sudden he's at the rim. So the shooting has to be at a certain level, but so too does, what happens if he's on the perimeter and they close out? What happens when he puts the ball on the floor? We've seen positive stuff there too. It's just this combination of so many different skills that if even a couple of them, not all of them, but if even 2 or 3 of them really pop and get to an above average level, this is a really good NBA player all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And to say that about a guy we all thought was a project, teenager, one of the youngest players in the draft, needs to get a lot stronger, might take a while. the fact that we're saying this, before year 2,
Yeah.
I think just goes to show why we're speaking with this tone about him.
Yeah, if there's anything that came out of those late season games last year that you say, all right, well, you want to be productive, right? We want those games to be productive somehow. And there's no better example than the experience that Noah Clowney got and the ability to see from a net standpoint of what Noah Clowney can be. I think again, to stay along the Claxton comparison is that where we saw a huge development in Nick Claxton over the years was his ability to do something with the ball when he's got it right in the high post. Like, may not be a great shooter, but he could make decisions with the ball. You can play through him a little bit. Noah Clowney's got a little more, maybe even down the road, you could be even better than that in terms of being able to play through him a little bit. If he is playing the 5 or he is playing the 4, play through him in the high post because, as you said, Luke, he's got that ability to spin and drive, and that is valuable also, especially if you can be a threat to shoot it from the elbow or the top of the key, right? Like, because then you could do so much with a big man who can shoot it from the top of the key, but also can get to the basket.
That's modern NBA offense right there.
Yeah.
That's what it is right now. To have a 5 that can do a lot and complement that with shooting the basketball, it just makes the entire 5-out flow of the offense. Those are the teams that are having success in the NBA right now.
Like, I have to give a shout out to Mufan Udofia, the head coach of the Long Island Nets. Long Island has, when Ronnie Burrell was down there, helped Brooklyn out a ton with their development. Last year, they played him as the 5. He would play drop coverage, which, as you said, maybe he's not a true 5 at the NBA level, but regardless, he's going to have to play some. He's going to have to be good at that. And then on the offensive end, they alternated all the time between him setting a screen and rolling to the basket, but also standing on the corner, standing on the wing, playing 5-out, attack a closeout, shoot a 3 basketball. I think what he showed down there was really positive and really crucial for his development as this guy that it's versatility. I know that's kind of become a buzzword, but all of a sudden, okay, he looks good in drop coverage. We know he can slide on the perimeter. He can block shots coming over from the weak side or as the main guy for, some spurts a game. And then on offense, it's, he can roll to the basket. He can set screens, but also he can play this 5-out style of basketball that we're talking about. The enticing thing with Clowney is he gives you a lot of options. He can play next to any number of guys in the lineup. And when you have a guy with that varied skill set for a young team building toward a long-term future, as Brooklyn does, it gives you optionality. It gives you, many pathways with players to choose from.
And when I sat down with him after the draft last year, he shows there's a contemplative side of Noah Clowney. There's a thoughtful side of Noah Clowney. He's a mature young man. Again, going back to guys coaches don't lose sleep over, guys that are going to handle themselves the right way. Noah Clowney is he's that guy. I mean, he's quiet, but he's a very nice, thoughtful young man. So I think from that standpoint, too, you don't worry about him. I think he's going to always play hard, and I think it's a credit to him, knowing what he heard it. He knew he was young, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna show you." But he didn't do it in a boastful way. He had a very. I just love his demeanor, and but it shows you there's a willingness to do whatever it takes to get better, and a strength of character, I think, from him that makes him really, really intriguing. And one of the biggest bright spots, I think, that came out of the 23-24 season, and then looking ahead now to 24-25.
And another great example of why Nets fans and everyone should be excited about the amount of draft picks the Nets have in the future going forward. They're just their ability to evaluate talent, character, and development potential in players. I think Noah Clowney is another one of those examples, and we could go on for a while of the different players that were drafted 19, 20 through the 20s that have just turned out to be very, very good NBA players. That's why, there's reason for excitement.
And the last thing I'll say about Noah, in addition to all of what Chris said about the character, which is true, he's got some nasty to him on the court. Even as like a young, skinny teenager, I mean, you saw it last year. It's like the kind of attitude you want from a guy in his position.
But it's a nastiness on the court, and he's a different guy off the court, and I think that's a great combination. No, that was always a criticism of a guy like Jared Allen, and it may still be a little bit of a criticism of a guy, Jared Allen, that such a nice guy off the court, so talented and can do everything, but maybe got bullied a little bit sometimes on the court, and he's overcome that to become. He's an all-star and he went to Cleveland, but there's still a little bit of that. But I think Noah Clowney's got, he's not, don't mistake kindness for weakness. That is Noah Clowney right there. Mm-hmm. And the next level for Noah, again, in improving these things like the jump shot and getting a little bigger and stronger is you got to go from he's really great for a late first round 19-year-old.
Yeah.
That goes away. Then you just have to be really great. Like now you're going to be compared to 22-year-old, 23-year-olds who were lottery picks. Can you match up with them is what we're going to see. And again, talk about something to tune in and watch. I know it got us excited last year, Capper. We're doing a game, and it can become a grind late in the season, especially when the team's not winning and they're out of the race. It was exciting knowing when we're watching a game, we're calling a game when Noah Clowney was checking in. It was exciting. It was exciting to see. And Net fans should be excited about that this year. Lucas Kaplan, Tim Capstraw, thank you so much again. That was a fun episode there, talking about Noah Clowney. This is the Voice of the Nets. I'm Chris Carrino. Until next time, remember to subscribe, tune in, give us a good rating. Really appreciate you joining us here on the Voice of the Nets.